Giant season.
Join us this October 1st through 3rd for our first annual Fight, Laugh, Feast conference. We are bringing a mix of beer and psalms, fellowship and food, and speakers who have been deplatformed by the evangelical elite and occasionally end up in Facebook jail. Step out of the boring, benign Christian conference circuit and step into the rowdy Christian world of engaging culture while standing firmly on God's word. Most conferences will lull your faith to sleep and teach you how to obey the 11th commandment, but our people, our culture, our country needs the high-octane gospel that applies to every area of our lives. So join us in Nashville as we fight, laugh, and feast together. Sign up now at fightlaughfeast.com, and we look forward to seeing you in Nashville October 1st through 3rd as we build a rowdy Christian culture for God's glory and our good.
You know we at war with your gods, y'all. The flesh in the world gotta die.
Hunger Games 2020. We're bringing it back. Just one last time.
I don't want to do
It's kind of an encore.
I'm out.
All right. Crazy Kami Harris is VP Biden's pick. Or, as CNN would say it, individual with a cervix. That's the headline.
Did you write that down?
No.
He's
I just
Texas.
come up on the fly with that.
You can't remember my bio, but you can remember that.
As you guys can already see, we got Darren Doane, filmmaker Darren Doane in the house, and David Bahnsen. You like
Come
David?
on now, Dave
You like
Bahnsen,
the
everybody in the
David
house.
Bahnsen. Yeah, let's get a clap. We got a
one.
live studio audience, and as you guys, as all our listeners know the drill, you got to make sure you join the club, make sure you download our app, and make sure you see us in Nashville October 1st through the 3rd. And we got a special after show with Darren Doane.
Cigars and scotch with Darren Doane?
Yeah, I haven't signed the contract yet. Yes, but yes, we're going to go to a cigar lounge Thursday night, 9 o'clock after beer and psalms, and we're going to do beer, cigar, and scotch.
Do some more.
We're just going to add to it.
Is that how you Doane it?
That is how you Doane it. It's late night. We're going for it. And after all the great stuff I know you guys are going to be talking about and providing, we're going to sit down and maybe talk about some super ninja assassination style things you can do to just get the ball going.
On Instagram.
Okay, but not, okay.
Yeah, no, we're
not with real weapons.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
if you don't come, basically you're being precious.
Pretty much.
Right. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I got that. Okay. Hey, this show is brought to you by New St. Andrews College. New St. Andrews College exists to graduate leaders who shape culture, living faithfully under the lordship of Jesus Christ. New St. Andrews College utilizes a classical Christian paradigm for higher learning, emphasizing wisdom and truth over pragmatism, integration and beauty more than specialization and service, and goodness more than power. The college honors this classical Christian heritage and stresses truth, beauty, and goodness, emphasizing small classes, rigorous discussion of classical and biblical languages, history, music, theology, philosophy, literature. The college has no dorms because it expects students to live and function as Christian adults in the local community.
Surprise. Surprise.
Which is actually why I came to the college. Initially, the reason I came was it was like a lot of tons of books and no dorms.
Wow.
That's what it was.
I was like, okay, I'm in.
Well, and they're actually meeting in person.
This fall.
This fall.
Right. The college's tuition is less than half of the average private college tuition and less than half. Did you hear that? And it allows freshmen to lock in future tuition payments at their first year rate. You lock in, and that's all you pay for 4 years. To preserve its religious freedom, New St. Andrews College does not participate in any federal student aid programs.
Important.
No hooks, no strings on me. But the college does offer a variety of scholarships and grants. New St. Andrews College's primary objective is to educate young Christian men and women broadly and deeply in the liberal arts from a distinctively Christian and Reformed perspective, to equip them for lives of faithful service to the triune God and his kingdom, to encourage the use of their gifts for the growth of Christian culture. Go to nsa.edu.
You making Darren want to go to college all over again.
You know, I mean, seriously, because I didn't go to college. Obviously, I'm here in Moscow, Idaho. It's the only college I'm going to send my kids to. But the last couple of years, just the way I've been thinking about life and skill, I was like, am I really going to send my kids to college? And the last year or so, I've been I cannot wait to get my kids into NSA, because actually seeing that the fight has now shown up, what it looks like, I'm more pumped up than ever to have all my kids.
They know the difference between boys and girls.
Yeah, which is, which is, I think
it's rare these days.
Yeah, I think it's important.
I'm going to go with that.
Especially when dating.
Okay.
Thank you, Darren.
Message.
You don't want that surprise.
Dave is just sitting there.
You don't want that surprise.
He's like, I don't need to say nothing.
You don't want that.
No.
Dave knows what I mean.
I agree with you, Darren.
I concur. So you guys haven't been with us through our journey for the presidential Democratic presidential race. We've kind of characterized it as Hunger Games. You know, right? So the one that stands up last at the end wins and all that stuff. And so we got a theme song that I'm going to play for you guys, and then we're going to get into it.
It is time to walk away from the politics of the past and towards something totally different.
People are lining up for food. That's a good thing.
I'm a hugger, I'm a kisser, and I'm a little bit of a sniffer.
Raising the minimum wage does not hurt business, it grows business.
So f***ing proud of you guys.
I am Spartacus.
You remember that?
Oh,
Who was that?
It was Howard Dean.
Whoa, he got it. Ding, ding.
2004.
Yes, sir. There you go.
remember the
It
year.
came out. All right, so Kami, we have a name for each of the people in the Hunger Games. Kami Harris.
Okay.
I think Joe Biden's calling, Trump is calling her, what was he calling Kami Harris?
I don't follow Trump as much.
Lion Kami or something. I forget. He's already got a nickname for her. But anyways, she was
Those things have kind of lost their edge a little
bit
from POTUS.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
quite as funny as
No,
they were.
no.
no,
better
he's
on
still
Twitter.
calling him Sleepy Joe and all that stuff.
Sleepy
And,
Joe. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, she was chosen by Joe Biden this last week, and then chosen.
Wow.
Well, as he
So
remembers,
sexist
if
of
he
you.
remembers it that way.
He remembers that he chose her? I thought she said
The
that.
civil rights struggle is nothing new to Joe. It's why he got into public service. It's why he helped reauthorize the Voting Rights Act and restore unemployment discrimination and employment discrimination laws. And today, he takes his place in the ongoing story of America's march toward equality and justice as the only
One more again.
who has served alongside the first black president and has chosen the first black woman as his running mate.
It's funny because I remember her tone being a little different in debates.
That's what I was just going to say when you started playing the clip. Like, I thought she had some problems with Biden.
Well, and so Trump released this campaign ad right after this.
Like the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community. If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
My Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this. I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black. And other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind.
They're gonna put you all back in chains.
Oh.
The first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
It was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputation of two United States senators who built their reputation and career on the segregation of race in this country.
Are you going to apologize?
Like Cory Booker apologize for what? From what?
So, this is interesting.
Did I make that?
That's what I was going to ask you. D, why are you taking the words right out of my mouth? I was like...
David Bossie made it. That's a good ad.
That is, but you know what? Do you think it's a good ad, though?
Don't underestimate that. And I know all I'm going to talk about is content and communicating. Don't sleep on that. This is why we are living in a time that is so powerful. No one roundtabled that. They went to someone who knows what they're doing.
Totally.
And there was no committee.
No
one
committee
approved a
did that
script.
one. No.
They just trusted who did it.
Yep.
And Dave's telling me who did it, and they did it, and that's how you get that done.
So the propaganda, because what I thought when I saw that ad, I was like, everybody has kind of said old school propaganda doesn't work, right? Like that's kind of done. You can't play that. You got to play the heart. That thing was a horror film.
Absolutely.
That ad is also why he didn't name her 2 weeks ago. They've been doing nothing but sweat on this for 24/7 about whether or not what she said to him in the debate was going to come back to haunt him. And Chris Dodd, who's by the way a really disgusting human being, who chaired his VP search, was vehemently against her.
Yeah, for this reason.
That's exactly right.
But if you were Biden though, would you have picked Kamala Harris to be your running mate?
That's a tough one because I don't think the VP ever matters at all. And so
Except for this one.
Do you think it matters though for him?
No. I think
for this one. I think it matters for this one.
Meaning it matters to us who the next president's going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, so because of the presidential implications, that's very true.
Well,
I'm saying
he's
for
barely
his
going to make it through
electability-
February.
His electability in 2020 The last time, like people saying, why would he pick someone in California? Hillary won California by 3 million votes. The last time, I'm telling you, I've studied this. The last time a state mattered from VP was Lyndon Johnson with Kennedy, 1960.
Okay.
Kennedy won Texas.
Right, because of Johnson.
Kennedy was down
Texas.
10.
Yeah,
He was down
Texas.
10 before he picked LBJ.
right.
Yeah.
Does it matter more this time, though, because Biden seems so senile?
I think it would, but here, the problem was that Biden, if it was going to be, I got to get someone who looks as a replacement, has the credibility that they think can be president. He boxed himself in by saying it was going to have to be a female. It doesn't have to be African American. Cory Booker would have been a much better pick for Biden on the replacement aspect and dealing with inner city problems.
Okay.
People forget Cory Booker came to Newark, New Jersey, and did charter schools, did school choice. He had a good relationship with the police there. Cory's got a lot of problems. I'm just saying.
But he came out looking like a conservative
at least a reasonable Democrat.
Yeah, absolutely.
He would have been more. He would have had more credibility.
I just couldn't get past his.
No,
that's just racism, Gabe. That's what that is.
I got something on this. I shoot more from pure gut. I have no. Dave looks at the facts. He gets the research. He can quote.
I feed the gut.
You know, right.
You shoot from the gut.
Yeah, I've been on keto, so I'm not feeding it anything. So
Okay.
I'm a little angry.
Is that keto?
Well, it's just cream and coffee. So yeah.
Okay.
I'm told it's keto.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a way of life. It's not a diet.
I guess.
But I think it does matter because if you go back, I love tactics. I love how things get set up, and no one believed John McCain could win. Okay.
Yeah.
But he picks Palin. Okay. If you don't pick Palin, you don't get Trump. Palin was the move to put things in motion that got us Trump. Where Biden went wrong, where the Democratic Party has gone wrong, is he should have picked AOC.
Or Michelle Obama.
No. AOC.
Michelle never goes second.
He would have picked Michelle in a second.
Because it has to be extreme. You have to set up where you're going.
Well, that's.
And Sarah Palin set up us to get the Tea Party, for us to get Trump eventually. They didn't play that move, and so that's why they're going to lose, and they're going to lose double because they didn't set up.
But Kami is a more radical pick. Kami Harris is a more radical pick than Cory Booker. Though. Cory Booker would have been a reasonable pick.
She was for Bernie Sanders' health care package.
Radical. It has to be radical to the opposing party.
Okay, so you said Cory, but you wrote a book about Elizabeth Warren.
Right.
So why not Biden? Why didn't you think Biden should have picked Warren?
Well, again, he was totally boxed in on the race thing.
Black
but
woman, black.
In fairness, Kamala did win the Senate seat in California. Warren came in third place in her own state in the Democratic primary.
That's not nice.
Okay.
And she is 103 years old. 103.
And so the succession doesn't look that good.
But Biden's 99.
I know she looks older.
Right, that's right. But the thing is, how did the
she's a young one.
So how did the Democratic Party kind of get the corner on them not being the racist party? So, they're in full support of Black Lives Matter, and I want to tee this up before you guys answer that question.
I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that person eats. That makes sure that person has clothes. That makes sure that person can make some kind of money because this city obviously doesn't care about them. Not only that, that's reparations.
Now this is in Chicago.
I couldn't hear her because of the mask.
Yeah, I could.
I'm definitely there.
I felt it though. I felt it.
Her mask was loud. This is in Chicago after all the riots and things that broke out there, and so she's speaking about basically all the looting that's happening there
and why it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to me. Like it's the hypocrisy here. I don't know how they get away with hypocrisy. Forget it being the party of pro-black, pro race, but the fact that she's talking about jobs and that the people who are getting looted, they own something that's getting taken from them, so they can't actually make money. You're an economist, you understand this stuff. So why is she thinking?
By the way, I also understood it when I was 4.
But so
there's a picture somewhere, Dave and his son is very young at the time of the picture, and I'm pretty sure he's holding his son, and his son is dressed in a full Abraham Lincoln outfit. Yeah. One of the funniest pictures I've ever seen. It was just Dave in this big.
People go, Halloween. I go, no.
This is everyday life in the Bahnsen family.
It's America. It's America.
Saturday.
But you were saying about that. You were wondering why.
I was just wondering why does the Democratic Party kind of get the corner on not being the racist party when Joe Biden clearly, as we would articulate it, that he said some racist things, or as the modern day would articulate it, he said some racist things. And then, of course, their support for Black Lives Matter, which is atrocious, and they're very openly a Marxist organization.
So, Gabe, I get confused with this line of questioning, and we're friends. I want to ask you, do you mean that you really don't understand it, or just that it frustrates you and you're expressing the frustration in the form of a question?
I would say there's an element
Can it be both?
Yeah, kind of both. There's an element where I don't understand it really.
Because I can answer this.
And then Republicans are horrible at painting narratives and sustaining narratives.
That's because they're too busy working.
Well,
some of them.
That's the common response.
No, but it's true, and the reason why this side, whatever side we want to call it now, is because we are seriously so busy trying to build things, solve problems, make things happen. And the other side is just sitting there and they're just sloganing and they're calling us names and they're creating narratives. And we don't have time to go out and riot and go. Literally, I guess that's a cliche. I understand that, but the cliche is true. Mm-hmm. We don't spend our time doing that.
It has never even entered their mind that someone may accuse them of hypocrisy. It's not even remotely a concern to them.
Right.
That anything they say is going to come back and bite them.
Right.
They are so past that, it's not even funny. They have a complete pass, total immunity to say whatever they want, do whatever they want, and they have control over the mainstream media.
Yep.
That's all we're talking about here.
Yeah.
They have the means of distribution.
So if there's no reasoning with that person then?
Well, it depends what your goal is. If your goal is to win an election, I'm kind of on Darren's side that you have to go create narratives, do shock and awe. You kind of almost have to just shake up the biorhythms of life a little bit. But if your goal is to change culture, which is very different than winning an election, then I think it happens one by one, relationally meeting people, and then also simultaneously top-down control of the institutions.
David, so good.
Did you hear that?
He just dropped it.
He just threw that out right there.
He just dropped it.
Top down control of the institutions.
Bahnsen's a beast.
More Cross Politic with Bahnsen and Doane. We're going to get some more of that coming up next on Cross Politic. You didn't write that down either. You just from the top of the head.
Americans have been traveling down the health insurance highway for decades. But lately, it's been taking us to places we don't want to go. For Christians, it's hard to know which road to take. Or is it? Samaritan Ministries provides a different direction, a biblical path for their members to pray for each other and share financially in each other's medical needs.
This idea that Samaritan has adopted from the book of Acts should permeate all parts of our lives, not just health sharing. We, as a body of believers, are living out New Testament Christianity. This is what God intended for the church.
Do you believe that you need an insurance company, or do you believe that God will provide your needs? And there are people that you've never met before who are going to pray for you and meet your needs. There's another way.
Looking for a new direction for your health care? Visit us online at SamaritanMinistries.org.
Are we making money, David?
I'll read it.
How much?
We making? We good? We're good. All right.
The exchange closes in 40 minutes.
1 hour and 40 minutes.
Okay, he's got time.
That's why you don't do my stocks.
Yeah, no.
Welcome back to Cross Politic.
Got out early again.
I'm going to put Bahnsen up here. The Bahnsen Group. I did that for you, man.
This segment is brought to you by the Bahnsen Group.
Please take it down. Please.
Hey, with us right now, live and in the studio. Not only do we have a live studio audience.
Wow.
Yeah,
you guys are packed in here.
Mr. David L. Bahnsen, founder, managing partner, chief investment officer of the Bahnsen Group, a bi-coastal private wealth management firm with offices in Newport Beach.
He will make you rich.
You should open up an office in Idaho.
Yeah.
You know? Good.
Come on.
You know,
Very
our operations director is in Coeur d'Alene.
Oh,
okay.
She's been in Newport Beach for 14 years, and she and her husband moved to Coeur d'Alene.
There you go.
And we let her do it because she's so important to the business.
There you go. Yeah. They manage over $2.25 billion in client assets. Is that still? Is it
2.5?
2.5 now.
Has it dropped in the last quarter?
It's increased quite a bit.
Yeah, in the last 5 minutes, it just went up again.
That's almost the exact number of views I have on YouTube for my videos. So just trying to connect in the billions. with you. Just,
I think one's worth more than the other.
Well,
I think.
I mean,
what's Google paying right now? That's the question.
You have probably seen David in Barron's, Forbes, the Financial Times, CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business,
Cross Politic,
National Review, World Magazine, and Cross Politic.
Get a shout out there.
He also serves on the board of directors for the National Review Institute, King's College, trustee for Pacifica Christian High School of Orange County.
Yep.
He's a senior fellow of economics for the Center for Cultural Leadership and a longtime faculty member of both the Acton Institute and Blackstone Fellowship of the Alliance for Defending Freedom.
Oh,
wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's also the author of the book Crisis of Responsibility.
Yes.
Our cultural addiction to blame and how you can cure it. Also, Elizabeth Warren, which we referenced earlier.
I don't think she's going to win.
Should have wrote the book on Kami Harris.
His ultimate passions are his wife, Jolene, their children, sons Mitchell and Graham, and daughter Sadie. And they live together on both coasts, it says, according to this bio I'm reading.
This is very true.
Thanks for coming on the show in person.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah.
I mean, next to Doug Wilson, does David Bahnsen have the next most appearances on the show?
I think so. Well, Darren's right there too, though.
Am I getting there? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I think last time I was on, you guys were debating this, and it was they were saying you and me. So
So now you're just tied.
Now we're furthering the tie.
Furthering the problem here.
Also with us is filmmaker.
Are you really going to read
American
my Wikipedia?
filmmaker, actor, and music video director Darren Doane.
You can just stop there. No, I think that's honestly everything else is wrong.
In 2007, Doane formed a new commercial music video branded content production company called Level 4.
It's not even true.
Level 4. It's not even true.
We tried to get a bio from Doane before the show.
No, that's why he was asking. I thought Gabe said, "Hey, do you have a bio for like the Fight Laugh Feast?" I was like,
"This is amazing." So Darren is so famous that people are making up fake bios about him online.
Right.
He has thought of it that way.
Produced and edited projects for a client list that includes Toyota.
Yes.
Hurley Nike.
Yes, it's true.
That's true.
Saatchi.
Saatchi and Saatchi, yes.
Atlantic Records.
Yes.
JBL.
Yes.
Universal Records.
Let's do this.
Jason Mraz.
It's Mraz, but
Mraz.
Blink 182.
Yes.
It's blank.
Is it Blink Eye?
Blink 18.
Plank Eye. I think that's Plank Eye. He's reading Plank
Super
Eye.
MXPX.
No, that's Supertones and MXPX.
Okay.
And,
I can, oh my gracious.
That
I
list.
know.
You gotta go through 500 names.
Zach Brown Band.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh.
Can't forget Shinedown.
Shinedown.
Darren got me to meet Zach Brown Band.
That's right.
Down in Santa Cruz.
That's
No,
right.
Santa
Santa
Barbara.
Santa Barbara. That's right.
At the theater in Santa Barbara.
That's right.
You called me up to hang out, and I went in the back with the bus.
That's right. It was
and Zach Brown Band were warming up with
Joey and Rory.
And Joey passed away.
Yeah.
But they were really cool. Anyways,
Doane also directed Collision.
I did.
Documentary with Pastor Douglas Wilson and Christopher Hitchens, which is a atheist Christian debate / rock music video.
Which all comes back to Dave Bahnsen.
Right.
Because that would have never happened because when I became a Christian, I mean, Dave doesn't want all of it, but I'm just going to say it. You know, I was around a bunch of people for a lot of years, a lot of Christians. Dave's got an amazing punk rock past as far as managing bands, being a tour promoter, and music executive. I mean, it's you know, it's crazy what he's done, the life he had before kind of the Dave Bahnsen group we know now, you know. But, you know, when I became a Christian, Dave was really my first mentor. I mean, he was the second person I called when I accepted Christ.
Right.
You know, I called Mark Solomon, and then I called Dave. Dave said, "That's awesome.
Right.
Come on down." And that was in Irvine. And I drove down to his spot down in Irvine, and that's how it all started.
We've said this before on the show, but it's too good not to say again. And his 3 book recommendations were.
Well, yeah, and again, and it's you have to understand the context of it. I'd been talking to Dave for a while, and the thing that still blows my mind is I was with these guys for years. I was around Dave for years, and we were going to Christian music festivals and working with these bands. We prayed before music videos and all that stuff. Nobody ever pulled me aside and said, "Darren, you're a sinner. Darren, Jesus has a plan for your life." No, I was just
not even that.
I was just with these guys.
Right.
I was with these guys all the time, and I'd make stupid comments sometimes, and you know, and no one ever corrected me. Nothing, right? But I was always reading. I was getting into stuff, and I think even at the time to set the context up for why these books might make a little more sense, I was reading like all those early books on the Knights Templars and, eventually became Da Vinci Code, all those blood oath books and all this stuff, and you can't trust it. And so I was deep into all that stuff. So by the time I became a Christian and Dave calls me, he says, come on down. I drive an hour and a half down to Irvine. We sit down, we start talking, and he gives me the Bahnsen debate. He says, listen to this. He says, anything you don't understand, just look it up.
Yeah.
Okay. This is my dad. And then he gave me Before Jerusalem Fell, because I was talking about all this historical stuff. I was really interested in, again, all this Knights Templar stuff. He said, here's a book called Before Jerusalem Fell.
Yeah.
And then he gave me this little tiny blue book, which I think I was supposed to return because it's beautiful, and I still have it. I was going to bring it. By Marcellus Kick on Revelation 20. And he said, listen to this, read this. He says, I'll come up as soon as I can, and I'm going to take you to the book of Revelation.
Yeah.
And he says, and if you just use these right here, this will keep you from being weird.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? They brought this up on one of the interviews I did with them, and I was thinking about afterwards, but what you just said is so important. What you just said, first of all, sounds completely insane.
Right.
Like it's the weirdest thing anyone's ever heard.
Right.
That someone is talking to their friend who's not a Christian, and these are the books they're giving them.
Right.
The context of our relationship and conversations for several years before and building up to it. And think about this from your background. If you had been a video producer, and I'm not making fun of the musical genre, but let's say it had been like glam metal bands in the 80s.
Yeah.
The Hollywood club scene,
right,
where the religion was hedonism.
Right.
And then you get interested in Christianity. I'm probably not giving you Marcellus Kick. But coming from sort of punk rock, hardcore, straight edge, these,
Contrarians.
Very philosophical.
Yep.
Very distorted and removed from our worldview, but there was an intellectual searching and craving that had been going on in your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So it's the musical background sort of plays into the philosophical
That's interesting.
Plato that we were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he came up within a month to where I was living at the time. He lived,
Thousand Oaks.
And you got to understand this. He came up to my apartment at the time to take me through Revelation.
Right.
We
Not
just
John.
Yeah,
not Matthew.
Yeah. We
The millennium almost ended while I was on the freeway.
And he just kind of did this overview of Revelation. And he would say things like, now people are going to say this. And you're going to hear this. And then people are going to say this. And then people are going to say this. But look at this. See these 7 heads? Look at this. Just turn the page. No, he said, just turn the page. He tells you what the 7 heads are.
Yeah.
He tells you. Look at this. Just turn the page. And people are going to... Context before, context after. He took me through it. And, I mean, I was telling someone this last night. And I said... I told the exact same story. And I said... And Dave said, if you just read these 3 things, listen 1 and 2, it'll keep you from being weird. And then this guy said to me, so you're telling me on day 1 of being a Christian, you were Reformed, Calvinist, preterist, postmillennialist. Oh yeah, that's going to keep you from being weird.
And lo and behold.
No, real quick, just to make sure, Darren mentioned this in passing, but just in case anybody has missed this, David is the son of Greg Bahnsen.
Well, yeah, I mean, and think of the providence there.
Yeah, right.
The greatest apologetic mind, his son mentored me. I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to have pride in things. Yeah, I don't know as a Christian, but I mean, I'm unbelievably, I'm
Christ
so
providence.
grateful. I'm so grateful. I mean, to think about, to be plucked out of the world, and then the man you're talking to, his father was the greatest living Christian apologist on the planet. I mean, that's like when Paul boasts about who his teacher was.
Right. Gamaliel.
Right. Yeah. I can never pronounce it, so I knew you would.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was like, I mean, that's.
I got you.
I mean, I can boast that. Like, I mean, I would even play games with Dave. I'd say, "What about this? What about that?" We're walking to a California pizza kitchen once, and I looked at Dave and I said, "I've gone through this debate so many times. Your dad answers every question that seems so complicated, like the person saying, 'Oh yeah, what's 2 + 2?'" And he goes, 4. "Oh yeah, what's 5 + 5? It's 10." I don't know how he does it. And Dave goes, "The gospel is that easy."
Okay, hold on. We gotta finish this. If you're watching this on TV, I'm sorry. You gotta go to our .com.
We're just getting started.
CrossPolitics.com to finish the rest of this interview.
That's how you tee it up.
That's how you. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. This is Cross Politic. And if you're watching the live stream, it keeps going. All right, Deep.
I have too many Dave stories. I mean, because like I would call
We're
Dave,
just getting started.
I would call him because the Word of Faith movement all of a sudden exploded into the community I was at. I'd call Dave. I remember I called Dave one night. I was so angry. I was like, I was screaming. Dave goes, and I'd love to hear you add to this. And Dave goes, my dad would take us to those churches. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, my dad would take us to those churches sometimes just to see it and experience it. And I was like, and he was like, just relax, man.
He kind of calmed you through the cage stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, and things like that. And then I enrolled in the Bahnsen Theological Seminary, and that stuff. And I called Dave one day. I go, Dave, how come you're not a pastor? How come you're not a minister, man? And he goes, Darren, there's other things people like us need to be
vocation,
doing,
right?
I mean, just like, all these things, all these steps, and to have that. And to be, and then I remember, I think it was like only a year or two later. I mean, it almost brings tears to my eyes. It was so sweet. I remember we were talking, and Dave just said, he goes, man, you never met my dad, did you? I go, no. And he goes, man, I would have liked for my dad to have met you. Or you to meet my dad. I forget which one it was. And I remember it was one of the sweetest things. Like, I think I'd had anyone like ever say, because I think he only passed maybe a year or two before I think yeah. And I think that's the, and then years go by, and I think we've all had this in our walk. I was this absolute, like all of us, just dirtbag waiting to be saved. You get saved, you're around a group of people, and then 20 years goes by, and a lot of people fall away. People that were like there, like people the one who were like, we're praying for you. People like, and I get it. The story's not done being written, but I can look across at Dave and one just have an immense amount. One of the only men I can say like I have that biblical affection for. Yeah, like this guy was. I was dead, and God used this man here to bring me up. Right, and we know Dave Bahnsen now really as a public figure who's talking economics and politics and finance, and he's writing books now. And he was doing LinkedIn before I was doing LinkedIn. He had figured out to start communicating on platforms before I had even figured it out. He was there. But that's
why he's on Fox and you aren't.
Exactly, right. That's why he's going back and forth, right?
Between LA and New York.
But this guy was punk rock. This guy was in the van. He was doing the tours. He was in all these horrible clubs, and they smelled and they were stinky and doing merch and getting screwed over by promoters and all that stuff. He knows the real deal. And so when you look at Bahnsen, you have to understand he knows both sides. He knows the dirt. And he knows the high towers.
I want to talk about that because I want to know right now, because it's funny, everything that Darren talks with punk rock, I get from hip hop because hip hop had the same origins as punk rock.
Absolutely.
And so there's this kind of like, oh, they won't sell my records? Well, I'll open up my trunk in the parking lot, put it on a loudspeaker, and sell my own CDs until I make it, and they'll come after me.
That's right.
As you look right now at the Christianity itself, and as the whole just kind of America, where's the punk rock missing inside of evangelicalism?
So that you mean as far as the attitude of how someone is determined to kind of overcome adversity, go against the grain, and so forth. Well, I guess it becomes a bit more ideological than stylistic. I think ideologically there isn't that because there's an incredible contentment with just following along. The church right now, I don't know. I've studied a lot of church history, but I don't have a way to know culturally or stylistically if the church has ever been this cheap of an imitation of the culture. It's not just that they've sold their soul, it's that they've done it on the cheap, like it's so bad.
Yeah.
And I think that
like it's not even a good deal. Like in the past, at least there was something you got.
I think that there was in the past if there was sort of an authenticity to their sellout. Where now it's almost just embarrassing.
Isn't the prophets talk this way? Like at least prostitutes make money.
Yeah.
But the prophets tell Israel, but now you're paying guys to sleep with you.
That's right. That's right.
Ezekiel. Yeah.
And so I think that sort of punk rock spirit is lacking in the church, but I can only say that because you're defining it the way I would, the way Darren's talking about.
Yeah.
Iconoclastic is probably the word I now use since I've become really pretty fancy.
Okay. Since your jail got more expensive.
You live on both coasts.
Although that could be the name of an album.
But like the way the whole thing goes, Darren's going through and he started off, he was talking about we were at California Pizza Kitchen, and I immediately thought, my God, I can't believe I ever went to California Pizza Kitchen. And then it ended with in the van selling the shirts and so forth. I go, wow, it gets lower than this.
But with that,
But I want to say something real quick, if you don't mind, because Gabe plays into this.
I'm sorry.
No, this is actually a very positive and serious thing. But everything you just explained about your story, our old story, the journey in your life, and so forth. I don't know how. And then there are a lot of people we know from the our old life. Some of them have been Christians a long time,
right,
and have fully fallen away, and all the things. I went through a very, very long period that I never thought about my years that we're talking about. Thought about some old friendships, some of which still have. But my view was, okay, age 18 to 27, first of all, Dad died early on there. Yeah. There's a lot of things that went on, some good, some bad in my life. But I didn't really start being able to impact the world or impact culture or develop a vision for engaging the kingdom and the culture until 27. And now this is my calling. And I believe this is my calling. I believe this is where God wants me. Yeah. But I had our old friend Jason Carson. I went to a USC football game with him. We were talking about and just kind of grieving about some of our old friends, where they've gone and whatnot. And I was just kind of like, I just don't think about that stuff anymore. I'm just that whole life. And Gabe had sent me a Facebook message like, hey, we had Darren on the show. I think there's a part you'll want to listen to. And I went back and listened to it a couple of days later. It was pretty much the same thing you just rehashed. Yeah. I started bawling. I was in my apartment in New York City. And I sent you a note. Yeah. And it occurred to me that, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if nothing, and a lot more did, but if nothing had come out of those 7, 8, 9 years that we were doing all this stuff, but that what you described, then I'd do it all over again. I'd even eat at California Pizza Kitchen.
So I don't remember sending you that link. I know.
Can we just end the show?
Oh man. But one of the things
heavy.
One of the things that shows me though is, first of all, God is good. Yeah. There's a whole bunch there that's just that's God at work. That's not you guys planning any of this. But secondarily, I guess I want to push on even saying, but the fact was that you were already at work in the kingdom before 27.
No, well, I was, and I realize that, and I think that that there's something sort of natural about when you move into something else. You get excited about what you're doing, and so you through time kind of forget more and more about it. But theologically and biographically, I totally agree. And yet there's, first of all, some guilt about certain parts of my life then, and there developed such a sadness over how some of the things didn't come together, the people who didn't endure.
Yeah.
And so then you kind of like forget about the fact. But when I think about it objectively and whatnot, I totally agree that God was using us, using Darren. Yeah. God was using Darren before Darren was saved. Yeah. Right? I mean, you made a lot of videos.
Absolutely.
All the Christian music videos.
Absolutely.
There are, not to derail this story at all, but just, I think to give other examples of the same kind of thing. Like, I came out to New St. Andrews College, and my first year and a half here were kind of wild. And I tell students sometimes there's parts in the student book of conduct, thanks to me.
Right.
Toby had dreads.
And never in my wildest dreams would have imagined that I'd be a pastor in Moscow, Idaho, associate pastor to Douglas Wilson, whatever.
Yeah.
But God is good. Yeah. God is merciful, and I think I'm tracking with you in terms of there's places where I look back too and I say like, I don't really want to talk about that. That was not exactly fun. And at the same time I look back and say, but that is part of the story that God was telling, and there was things going on there that was preparation for this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When I have a 17, 18-year-old student in my office struggling with stuff, God wants me to remember who I was and where I came from.
Right.
And remember that God's grace is for him too.
Yeah.
But there's other lessons too. I'm sure there are other things that God was doing at tooth and nail with you that was for Bahnsen Group, that was for your family, that was for your kids, that was,
one of the most important things he did is teach me that when I started a large wealth management firm someday, to never work with a musician.
How does he do it?
There we go.
How does he do it?
Just like that.
How does he do it?
Every time. Timing. You must do stand-up too. You stand up? All right, more Cross Pause when we come back. We're going to talk a little bit about the conference and weapons for this war. I want to hear you guys kind of bring the tool case out, put it on the table for us.
Good.
More cross politics when we come back. Can I get some tissues back there?
Come on, bring it up,
Any
people.
tissues?
Come on, come on.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations. Our most precious commodity is time. No one has ever lied on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time making money. They all wish they had spent more time creating a legacy. Our modern education system steals that legacy, steals that time from our children. That's why I'm passionate about homeschooling. That's why at Classical Conversations we want to give you more time to create that legacy, follow your passions, and glorify God. Visit classicalconversations.com for more information.
All right. Too many things going on at
Too many
once.
things.
Yeah.
What is this?
Figure it out.
No, I'm good.
Does this go with your
I'll just do a
your
little
keto?
What's that? I'm not keto.
What is
That's
it?
good.
Did you just put that in your cup?
Yeah.
You don't care about the mix, huh?
So we
Just
do it.
Mix it all up.
Well, it's coffee and cream. And
welcome back to Cross Politic on the Fight Left Feast Network. With us, filmmaker Darren Doane.
Friday, right?
Financial consultant, economist, ninja
Extraordinaire.
David Bahnsen in the studio.
Did you know he lives on both coasts? Yeah. Yeah.
And we have a live. I think the studio audience has grown. Actually,
More people keep coming in.
I know, it just keeps going around.
Yeah, actually, the other room is full too.
Oh,
So,
no,
that's-
man.
It's gonna be fun.
I'm going to stage dive at the end.
Social distancing.
For us. Well, to them. So, someone was just telling me they were on they were on a flight. It was packed. Everyone probably knows this joke, but it's real. They're on a flight. It's packed. They got to go to the bathroom. There's someone in front, and then the stewardess said, "You need 6 feet back from the person in front of you to go to the bathroom."
Yeah,
but you're next to everybody.
Other people
on the
right
plane.
while you go back.
Right.
No, there's still people.
In my speech tonight, I have a reference to something similar, but I won't share it now.
Okay, good.
But,
Good.
Let's just say that a lot of people are doing a great job at demonstrating the absurdity of our age.
I actually wanted to talk to you about what it was that you're going to be talking about at New St. Andrews College. So go ahead, drop it. Drop the bomb, man.
Well, I think I'm giving the commencement address for the graduation.
You are. You are.
Sounds really
we,
good.
we think so too.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
No, and so the title of my speech tonight is 100 Years at a Time.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's like
Wait, do you mean that's what you're talking
Post
about?
mill.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
It was right in the middle on
Both.
the
Both. He's going with both.
Emphasis.
Okay. Because he lives on both coasts. He can do both.
Dual.
Because I was wondering, because my question was, I was asking Gabe, what do you tell a graduate right now who is, the world just changed for them?
Their graduation actually
And-
got skipped,
Yeah,
basically.
and the class of COVID now. What do you tell them? 100 years at a time? Great. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, no, but that's what they need to hear. Is I'm going to talk to them. It's not just about the moment they're living in right now. It's the moment they're born into as well. I'm assuming these people are between the ages of 20 and 25 for the most part, right? Or do you guys do a thing here where your college students are like 43?
No, they're
some are 18.
You're right.
nothing
somewhere
against
around there,
anyone
right?
getting
No, we
their
aren't
degree
King's
at
College.
43.
20 to 25, and I'm going to talk to them
You
about
heard
the
it.
fact they were born into the 9/11 period of time, and here we are at the bookend of the first 20 years of this new century in the COVID moment. In between, we had this little financial crisis thing. This has been a very unsettling first 20 years of the century. I'm going to go back to the first 20 years of last century. 1900, 1920 has an unbelievable similarity to 2000, 2020. World War I, there was another financial crisis. We talk about all the things where I've talked on your show before with the Federal Reserve right now, the role they play in American economic life. Well, the Federal Reserve was created in the first 20
In
years,
first-
20th century.
Yep.
And then going into the Roaring 20s, and you know, it all got better from there. The Roaring 20s were an incredible time of peace and prosperity in our country. But what happened? Great Depression, World War II, Third Reich, Stalin, Cold War. Other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Right.
And
Wow.
it's a Abe Lincoln joke.
Yeah.
We got
We
it.
weren't there.
Call back.
So my view is that people right now are facing a very tumultuous time, and they were born into a tumultuous time with their 2025 right now, and that some understanding of history that is going to be tied into eschatology, but not tied into the timeline of eschatology that millennial conversations focus on, but instead tie into a theology of eschatology, which is not necessarily even exegetical, and it's certainly not timeline driven. It's existential. It's what you're going to do with your life, who you want to be. And I believe that the next 100 years is going to be characterized by both the new Bonhoeffers and Lewises and Churchills and Buckleys and so forth. And it's going to be categorized by people influenced by them. Where right now what we have is very few of the leaders and even less of the people to be led. And you have to recreate that positive feedback loop. So people can say you need leadership and then everyone falls in line. But I think mostly it's untrue. I think mostly the leaders reflect the character of the people.
Right.
And so we can do the chicken or egg debate all day, but the fact of the matter is we have to create a virtuous cycle. We become better people, we'll get better leaders. You have better leaders, you'll get better people. And I'm going to tie that into a 100-year vision.
Can I add a layer?
Can you just play this?
Right. that works solid.
You just fly home now.
Keep going. Keep going.
Right. Go ahead. Or just sit in the audience and listen. Yeah. The layer I would add to that is,
y'all doing a tag team?
Are you going to do a talk tonight?
No, I mean, if he brings me up, it's. I mean, I know where the event
You're ready.
is.
You're
I'm
ready.
close to it.
You're ready.
I'm close to it.
Be ready.
Is right now, I think I would say the opportunity that graduates have right now, I think everyone has right now, is people are taking a break. They're done. You have the culture going on pause right now. Christians need to realize, let's go. People are now have more of an excuse to be lazy. They have more excuse to wait for some sort of handout, entitlement. I wonder who's going to fix this whole thing. Christians right now, you take every job you can get. You put every dollar in your pocket. You take every opportunity. You go. You keep learning. You don't just settle for a particular kind of schooling. No, you go. Literally, I think there's going to be a 2 to 4 year pause on people's maturity level right now. Christians have an opportunity to say, I'm going to beat my current generation by 4 years right now and get after it. That's an opportunity.
Well, and by the way, even before COVID, this is the advantage that we have that we act like we don't have. We constantly pretend we're losing.
There we go.
The culture for some time now has celebrated this idea of extended adolescence. They explicitly talk that your 20s are gone, or lost cause. Yeah. That your goal is to go search. It's mostly to fornicate and drink, by the way, if we're just being honest.
Right. Yeah.
Just 10 years to fornicate and drink.
Yeah. Really,
then,
for that?
Then you need to start a career, and then when you're about 42, start having kids. It's a great age to start.
Yeah.
Half a kid or one.
Yeah.
Come on now, preacher.
Half a kid or one. Okay, and then it's like now we got all the time. So we're willing. We can start with a 10-year head start, and we can't beat these people.
Right?
Dear Lord.
Seriously.
We can't beat them because our kids are in public schools. I'm tired. You talk about the idea that liberal Democrats can't even fathom the idea of being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Someone in you because you're in this space, needs to look at every conservative Republican and say, you are at fault because you think socialism only starts at college.
Yeah, that's right.
While you put...
Darren can't do that.
Well, no, because and you think about it, all these Republicans, all these conservatives believe that it's okay to have free school K through 12.
Yep.
They are the reason.
And yet you got to pay for college.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we got to get those people out. Their kids need to be out of the public school systems, and we win. If it purely is tactics.
By the way, you know, his kids are out of the public school system.
Everybody,
the liberal Democrats,
the liberal,
right? Yes, they're going to. So
I
grew up in Texas, and Texas is now about 60-40 Republican Democrat. And all the data shows in Texas is, everyone hears about California moving to Texas, kind of stuff. All the data shows that Texas is going liberal because of it's homegrown. It's not being imported in from California.
The imported view is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
No, that's not what the data shows.
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
Agreeing with you, dude.
Reform people
licking my knuckles.
Someone agrees.
Wait, what? No. Poor people don't know what to do when they agree.
Yeah. Oh, no. He just changed his mind. No, the imported view is wrong. It is homegrown.
It is homegrown.
That's right.
And first of all, we know this intuitively. Do you think the people leaving California to go to Texas and Arizona are the libs or the conservatives?
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Are they going to recreate what they just left?
No, Texas is not importing the bad people from California. They're importing the good people from California and Arizona and Nevada and whatnot. Right. The homegrown liberalism is in Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, and Austin. Texas is 60-40 because we're doing the deceiving math of aggregation. It is 70-30 Democrat in cities, and it is 70-30 Republican in rural areas.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So it is nothing more than a microcosm of the entire national story, which is cities versus suburbia and
So
rural
arguably, the imports are actually keeping it relatively conservative at this point.
they're at least breaking even.
Right.
Okay, so when we do the show, we think about when we started Cross Politic, we wanted to be very, very narrow in our audience. God has grown it past that, but we wanted to think about a guy, a particular person who is a married man who has a family. What does he need? The tools that he needs to operate and function in this world, to be a good Christian man, to be a good citizen in this country.
Husband,
father, businessman. We wanted to equip him, and so we just kind of targeted that person. If you guys had to give him an extra tool in his backpack, you're going to be doing it at the conference October 1st through 3rd in Tennessee, Nashville. Hope you signed up.
I will write that down. Is that what I'm talking about?
Yeah, those are dates. Those are dates.
But I want to know if right now you wrote Crisis of Responsibility, so you have a book on this. But right now, for people who are listening,
Buy the book. Get the book.
Get the book.
It's really good. Yeah.
If you had to say, okay, man, here's some tools that you need in your backpack, what are they?
Besides the ones that you're talking about related to fatherhood and husbandry, or are you saying tools for those things?
You can buff those if you want to.
I mean, I honestly do believe that there's a lot of really good tools about that stuff.
Yeah.
So it isn't that I would put it on a lower place on the totem pole as far as the need for them to be a godly father, a godly husband.
Get married, have kids.
But I do think that there's just a bigger hole in the professional aspect of their life. I don't think there's a lot of great tools equipping men in the marketplace.
Okay.
So it isn't that I'm saying the marketplace is superior to institution of family. I'm just saying it seems to me that there's already some tools available for that spot of their backpack. But I don't think there's the same availability for their engagement in the culture, specifically professionally.
Yeah. So kids 18, you're saying what? Find out what you love to do and go be a master of it?
Well, I think that one of the most amazing things, to the point I was making earlier about this newfound love affair with extended adolescence, is you can start with what you don't do. And what you don't do is I do believe, by the way, in the concept of 18 to 22 being a transitional period.
Sure. Formative, transitional.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even if they do go straight into some sort of work and vocational situation, there's still the sense in which they're kind of having to apprentice and develop and whatnot. But my point is that you do tell them you're an adult now. I'm going to treat you like an adult. I'm going to talk to you like an adult. And I know that the world knows this, even if they pretend they don't, because of sports.
Yeah, that's
and just go to a college football practice. Right. You think they're babying those kids there?
No.
They are not.
That's right. That's right.
Just in case you thought
they are. So it's like all of a sudden an 18-year-old guy is getting
They are this year. They're canceling all programs this year.
Not everywhere.
Yeah.
Not everywhere.
Most programs. Pac-12,
SEC,
Big 12.
SEC, Big 12,
I know.
they're not. Yeah. So somehow they found a way, even college football gets stuck into the culture war.
Yeah.
Even college football.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you think that's a coincidence? These West Coast schools are all canceling, and Alabama and Tennessee are going to go play football?
No.
Well,
that's how you got Trump.
Well, can you say more on that? I think I'm tracking, but can you flesh that out?
I guess what I'm saying is that there is like no shortage of examples of things that very quickly fall into a binary and tribalistic, where the line is divided and you can just guess. So is it Charles Murray basically said you can ask like 3 or 4 questions. And by the way, one of them is if it wasn't California Pizza Kitchen, it was Olive Garden. Right. But you can learn a lot just, have you been to an Olive Garden before? Right. There's these certain kind of cultural taboo questions. And more or less that great divide between a sort of elite, upper class liberalism or just the cities themselves, or urban culture, then how someone votes is almost always defined by cultural markers. Mm-hmm. It is very rarely economic. The whole "it's economy stupid" thing is symptomatically true, but not causatively true. Mm. And I think that right now, this whole COVID thing, the mask stuff and hydroxychloroquine and stuff, it's like it doesn't even matter the merit of either side of the argument. Yeah. And by the way, I will say I think both sides do it too.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that there are people who oppose hydroxy because President Trump said some things about it, but I'm also sure there's people who supported it because he said some things about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Except for Facebook. they just delete it.
So on the college football side, the Pac-12, which you're talking about Stanford, you're talking about Berkeley, you're talking about UCLA, USC, and of course, what's the little school around here? Washington. But
Wow.
no, my point.
You had to answer that, Darren. Darren's like, I'm going to answer that.
You know, I've been to every stadium in the Pac-12 except for Pullman, and I flew into Pullman this morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, no football. It doesn't count. I got to go to a game there.
Yeah.
So I think that's, I guess what I'm saying is that it is, again, there is a reason why the SEC is like, no, we're not canceling football.
Do you still have the same license plate?
The old DLB for USC? No, it now says Div Stocks. Oh, are you talking about the Theonomist?
Sounds like there's a story here behind it.
That's it.
Take that bourbon away from him.
What was the license plate?
It said, my license plate now says Div Stocks
Okay.
because I am a big advocate of dividend stocks. We talked about that on your show.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
No, that is definitely not the license plate Darren's talking about.
Shout out to the Dividend Cafe podcast. You got to get that with Dave Bahnsen.
Yeah,
You
right.
got to get it.
There's three you got to get.
No, I think Dividend Cafe is the one where I'm my most true self.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think all of them put together a third and a third and a third. That's my thought.
I think one of the things.
See, Dave, how I got that up for you?
One of the things, though, I'll get us out. But back to our guy. Back to our guy who's trying to. He's got a family. He's got kids.
Yeah.
We call him Sam.
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah, we call him Sam.
You say Trump?
I thought you were talking about our guy.
No.
Is this a Trump?
No.
He can use some of this too, but mostly Sam.
But I think as an opportunity, this moment is an opportunity. That's what I'm going back to. We need men who see this moment as the opportunity,
right?
And see the craziness, see the chaos, not as a moment to retreat, not as a moment to say this is too big, there's too much government intrusion, whatever it is that the boogeyman is for Sam. You need to see this as a moment of opportunity, if for nothing else, because this is the story that God loves to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, the story that God loves to tell is against all odds. He didn't care. He didn't care what everyone thought, so he started a business. He didn't care what everyone thought, so he started saving, he started investing. He didn't care what everyone thought, he went back to school.
Yeah.
He got some new tools, and he started getting back to work. He started providing for his family. He started a Christian school. He sent his kids to a private school. Whatever it needed to be done, he
didn't care what everyone said.
And
he stopped
didn't
wearing a mask.
care what everyone said or what it looked like. I was reminded, we just finished a book for the NSA board. Oh, look, it's right down here.
How about that?
Oh, look at that timing.
The Age of Entitlement. Have you guys read this?
It's a great
Christopher
book.
Caldwell. It's a brilliant.
We've had him on the show.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we had him
had
on
him
the
on the
show.
show. We interviewed him. But he ends the book with I won't even tell you why, but that famous scene with Ann Coulter in around a table.
Yeah.
Everybody asks. The guy goes around, asks who's going to be the next president, and it gets to Ann Coulter, and she says Trump, the straight face, and everybody bursts out laughing.
Yep.
And this is, I think he says it was either 3 weeks or 3 days after Trump had announced his candidacy. And that's
wow.
And she was like, it'll be Trump. And everybody bursts out laughing, thinks it's hilarious. And of course, now.
That's how I felt.
Which way?
I said from day one
it's going to be Trump.
Yeah, and I said it because at the debate, when he got to that first live debate, I said to my wife, we were watching it, Trump's up there, he's in the middle, if I recall. Okay. And you have the 16 or whatever many people were up there.
Yeah.
And Megyn Kelly, this is her moment. She's the biggest star on the planet at this moment. I mean, I think we forget how big Megyn Kelly was.
Yeah.
$20 million, $40 million, $1 million. She's that big at this point. And this is it. He's got no armor. He's not protected. And she says, you've called women dogs. You've called them fat. You've called them. And now, if you pause the movie right there, this is it. It's over.
Yeah.
He can't take this. This is a bazooka to the chest. And he cuts her off and he says, only Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah. And there's thousands of people in that room. And they go ballistic. And I turned to my wife. I said, he just won.
Yeah.
He just won. Because if that didn't take him out, there is nothing. Now, we had no idea what was coming.
Right.
But I said, if that can't take that man out, nothing will.
And the thing is so quite apart from the Trump question, but there's something in there in terms of knowing who you are and not caring what anyone thinks, knowing what you think, knowing what you believe. And as Christians, there's certain parameters to that. But nevertheless, we need a whole lot more of the kind of backbone that Ann Coulter sort of, smile and wave. And I don't care what you think. I don't care because I think a lot of what passes as Christian testimony, Christian leadership is basically just putting your finger in the wind. And it's like what you were saying earlier, David, as far as, we're worse than the prostitute.
No, I agree, but I want to add. I'm not taking away from what you're saying. I'm adding to it.
Yeah.
I agree that young person facing cancel culture has to be bold, courageous, and go out there and not care. I also think there's some of those young, bold people doing the right thing are going to get fired, and guys like me have to hire them.
Yeah.
Okay, it's both sides. But there has to be a support system.
That's part of you not caring either, though.
I don't care.
But you're saying, the guy gets fired, though, because he's a Christian. And you say,
that's right.
But that's going back to what you were saying with the hole that's missing inside of that backpack is the guy who's able to do that. The guy who's actually
But that's the new resume. Guys like Dave, guys like me. I mean, we had a huge bump in work that we have to get done in the last week or two. I was like, I need to hire 4 or 5 people now. And I'm looking now, I'm going back through all my social media and going, okay, who didn't post on Blackout Tuesday?
Right. I'm going to check them out.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's good. And that's the thing is, I think you're right. And you're absolutely right. And even though we're Reformed, I guess we can agree. But the
no
for now.
No, but
for now. Give it time.
But this is the thing. But this is the thing. The way that God blesses, though, isn't necessarily what you thought He was going to do.
Never.
So when I say go out and don't care, start something, build something, do something to the glory of God, it may be that God throws a roadblock in what you thought you were going to do, and you're going to get diverted, and you're going to get hired by Darren, or you're going to get hired by David, or you're going to be doing something different than you thought you were doing. But that's part of the don't care.
But this is a huge part of what the schools are doing wrong, and we focus so much on ideologically what the schools are doing wrong. There is also even well-meaning schools that might be more sympathetic to our Christian worldview that are still doing the thing of babying them, that are teaching them that failure is a bad thing instead of that failure is a good thing, that are forgetting that Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers and what God meant for evil, what men meant for evil, God meant for good.
Right.
See, I believe that there are 3 things. I don't really want to get into them right now, mostly because of time, but it also wouldn't be appropriate. There are 3 major events in my life, all 3 of which were life-changing, definitive moments, were awful experiences. Yeah. And I honestly believe all 3 of them led to the greatest blessings I've ever enjoyed or tasted in my life. Yeah. But I think that young people don't know that, don't believe that, aren't told that. Right. So they run into adversity and they're like, okay, we got to figure out how to get through the adversity instead of embracing it and loving it.
Right. Yeah. That goes back to what we were saying before. God's telling a story. And in this story, some of the most significant things He's doing to us and for us are failures in the moment and horrific and difficult things. Yep. And He is meaning them for good.
Absolutely.
David Bahnsen, Darren Doane, we could talk for another hour. I appreciate you guys for coming on the show. Thank you so much.
Unbelievable.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight.
Come on, people.
Laugh, and peace. This is Cosmopolitan. Thank you. Thank you.
You just can't beat that live.
And you audience.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that.
Most Americans love their higher education like they love their cheese. Factory produced, unhealthy, floppy, and neutered of flavor, thanks to the easily offended. We prefer our education sharp, hard, and handcrafted in Idaho. New St. Andrews College. Biblically integrated, culturally potent, liberal arts. In person this fall.